Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at In Beds of Flowers by Jess, Layne. If ever there was a princess that I related to, it would definitely be Princess Althea. So, first of all, she's not your stereotypical pretty in pink princess. She's the youngest of 4 children, 2 brothers and a sister, and because she's the baby of the family, she kind of gets away with a little bit more, but there is a tradition in her kingdom where the prince or the princesses on their 21st birthday marry. Doesn't matter if they're male or female. The children of the king and queen all get married on their 21st birthday. And they have this big celebration, this like multi-day ball where the potential suitors can come and meet the prince or princess that is about to get married. And he or she can take their pick of the potential suitors. And so Althea, like I said, she's not your typical princess. She gets irritated when she was younger. She told her parents, why are the boys allowed to train to defend themselves but the princesses can't? Like, shouldn't we be able to defend ourselves too? And the parents are like, well, we don't really have an answer for that. So yeah, I guess you can do the same training as your brothers. And so she likes to practice with the sword and the bow and other weapons. And she's very proficient in those types of weapons. And she's usually in training leathers rather than ball gowns and whatnot like her sister was. And her sister was very much a princess, was very much I want to wear the gown and I want to go to the balls and all these other things. And Althea, her thing is, oh yeah, I love the balls. That's where all the food is, you know? So she likes the food, she likes the drinks and everything, but just before her courting ball, for the first night of the courting ball, she gets kidnapped, and my smartwatch is yelling at me. Anyway. Just before the ball happens, she gets kidnapped. She's tied up and held hostage and everything. And she escapes, killing 5 different Fae males in the process of getting away. And so the first chapter is kind of a prologue. It's just her ruminating on everything that's happened. And then the first actual chapter is her. You don't see the kidnapping. You don't see where they've held her getting away. She's just telling you that she was kidnapped and got away as she's walking back to the castle barefoot because she's escaped and she's realized, oh, there's blood on my shoes. Well, that's not gonna look good. So she takes her boots off, or her shoes or whatever off, and so she's walking barefoot back from wherever they had held her, back to the castle, and as she's walking through town, everybody's looking at her, and they can see her in her training leathers, but it's starting to get dark, so they can't really tell that there's blood on her training leathers, and they're just like, yep, that's Princess Thea, what did you expect? Running around barefoot in her training leathers with her hair all a mess and everything. Yep, that's our princess, you know? And that they just accept this. And so she gets back to her room, and she takes a minute to let herself fall apart. She actually takes time to mourn the loss of life of yes, I had to take their lives, but they still probably had families. They probably still had wives and children that are now robbed of ever seeing their husband and father again. And she talks about she's running this through in her mind of the logistics of her having this moment to mourn their loss, and realizes that on the surface of it, she shouldn't feel remorse of them. Like it was, I had to take their life to survive, that there was no other option. But she also realizes that if I don't feel this, if I don't feel the remorse, then I'm no better than they are. And so refusing to become disassociated with her actions and refusing to justify them, she just allows herself that time to mourn. But she is going back and forth on, do I tell my parents what happened, or do I not tell them what happened? And her decision has serious repercussions, and it's one of those really weird things, whereas me sitting here at 45 years old, the mom in me is like, girl, tell your parents. You're being stupid by not telling them. But I also understand, because I remember being 20 years old, and, you know, her mind thought is, I can't tell my parents, because whatever little freedom, like, as I've gotten older, as I've gotten to where I've come of age, my freedoms as a princess has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller, because where when I was a child, I was protected a little bit because I was a child and I was stupid and I didn't know what I was doing. Sure. But then as I got older, I got a little bit more freedom. But now as I'm getting into coming of age, that freedom is going away, because now I've got to stop acting like a child and I've got to start acting like a princess, and I've got to prepare to be a queen to somebody else and to potentially rule a kingdom or whatever, and I don't know that I'm ready for that. And so as she's coming of age, her freedoms have gotten further and further between. Like, she's not getting as many freedoms as she had as a teenager, because now it's time to grow up. Now it's time to be a queen and act like a queen. And she talks about the expectations especially that her mother has, that she only has this small window to fall apart and feel these feelings, because her mother's going to be coming up to help her get ready for the ball. And she decides, I'm not going to tell my parents, because if I do, then what little freedom that I do have at this moment will go away. I won't even be able to sneak out anymore. And so she's putting her freedom as a higher value than her safety. And like I said, it has great repercussions, and as you would expect, because somebody ordered her kidnapped, and they did not get to her before she escaped. They were holding her, waiting for this person that was supposed to get to her to come and collect her or whatever. You can imagine he's not going to be happy that his people failed him, and that there's going to be another attempt, and whatever cost. So, on one hand, she has kept herself in danger by not telling anyone, but potentially endangered those around her if they get in the way, because they have no idea what's going on. And so like I said, it's one of those decisions that as a 40-something-year-old, and I'm, in this mom mindset of, sweetheart, you gotta tell, because people want to protect you, you gotta tell them. But like I said, I understand why she's making a stupid decision, because she is only 20. And in her mind, her logic is, obviously I can handle myself. I mean, I just took out 5 males by myself to get free, so obviously I'm not in that much danger, and that's the logic she's using. And so she gets up and goes and sits in her chair, and this is when you find out that she has magic powers, and that her mom and dad both also have magic powers. And her power is that she can heal, but she can heal herself, she can heal others, but she has to, like, put her hands on somebody to heal them. She can't she talks about how some people have the healing power where they can just look at somebody and heal them, where she can't do that, but she can touch somebody and heal them. For herself, she's already in her own body, so she can heal herself without touching. Like if the chafing around her wrist, she can heal that without touching her wrist. But she gets herself composed, and her mom walks in, and because of how she's described her mom as being protective and a princess has to act a certain way, you of course expect your typical queen mother. And what I love about Queen Lydia and King Aaron is, who are Althea's parents, is how they are parents. The queen comes in and she's like, "You're not even close to being ready," and but she's and as she's kind of saying, questioning why she's not ready and everything, she's doing that mom thing where she's looking at her daughter's face and she's like, "Everything good? You all right?" And Thea is just playing everything off as, "Oh yeah, I'm just, I could use a little help." And her mom helps her get her hair and makeup and dress done and using magic. But she's still searching at her daughter and and Thea even says, "My mom was looking at me like, she wasn't asking questions, but and we had to get to court because the guests of the court were waiting, but the queen would gladly make them keep waiting if it meant she needed to talk to her daughter. If her daughter had something she needed to talk about, if she had something to get off of her chest, then the queen mother would say, 'You know what, the guests can wait. My daughter,'" then the mom would win out. And Lydia is constantly in this battle between queen and mother. So when she gets her daughter ready and she takes her out to meet the king so that the three of them can go in together. And the queen's like, "Your daughter insists on being fashionably late." And the king is like, "Oh, no surprise, even in the most important situations, she can't get ready in time. Like, how are we surprised by this? This is our daughter, we know this." And Thea's like, "Well, I could have been ready on time if you thought training leathers were appropriate formal wear." And their parents are like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." The mom's like, "You would have still found a way to be late." And the dad's like, "Yeah, but I would have loved to see the the look on the faces of the other courters and the suitors, just to see her come in with her training leathers on instead of the dress and everything." And there's this playful banter, that they have this beautiful moment before they enter the grand ballroom where they're not king and queen and princess, they're mother, father, and daughter. They're just a family. And they're having this one final moment of, this is our last time with our daughter before she grows up, and it's a little bit emotional for for all of them, but they're also really happy to be that she's made this milestone. So they walk into the ballroom, and I'm just sitting here thinking, this woman just got kidnapped, escaped, killed 5 people, and got home walking all that way barefoot, and she's just gonna go to dinner at this royal gala like nothing happened. And like I said, Thea is one of these princesses that I could absolutely relate to. I could absolutely have been a Thea. And even when she sits on the dais with her mom and dad, and playing the role of the princess and everything. And as the party starts, she's like talking to her mom, and she's like very nervous about, well, what do I do if nobody wants to dance with me? Like, if I go out there, because the custom is she goes out to the middle of the dance floor, and then the suitors approach her, and she's like, what if none of the suitors approach me? And she says, the mom's like, you have to let them come to you. She's like, but if at the 60-second mark nobody comes to you, then it's perfectly fine. Just go grab a guy. And she's like, all right. Well, she gets out there, and when the song starts up, all of a sudden 3 guys immediately like want to dance with her. And the first one, she's like, you're a pompous, arrogant jerk, and immediate no. And the guy, like, she dances with him, but as she's getting to know him that she realizes, first of all, he didn't introduce himself. Second of all, he's just assuming that he's gonna be a contender, and she's just like, nope, absolutely not. The next guy she dances with has a sense of humor, and for whatever reason, she decides, you know what, I'm gonna tell him. And so she tells him, I like to train with bows and arrows and swords and daggers. And the guy's like, I would love to spar with you, because he also likes to train with bows and arrows and swords and daggers. And they're having a great time, and so she likes him. And some of the suitors are like kind of pervy and creepy, and some of them are like, not so bad, but not great. They're like a maybe to her, and some of them are an absolute, okay, yes to him, yes to him, yes to him. Those 3 can stay. The rest, those guys can go home. And these guys, I'm not, But her main focus is, she's like dancing with all these suitors, but her main focus is on the food, and her main focus is on the drinks. She even goes to the bar, and she's like, surprise me. And one of the guys gives her a very strong, clear drink. But like, she's out dancing and acting as if she didn't just get kidnapped earlier that day, and having a grand old time, as if nobody tried kidnapping, and it goes back and forth between, it starts off with present day, with Thea saying, okay, this is what's happening right now. And then it's like, okay, yeah, but how did you get there? And then, like, it goes back to the second chapter, or the first chapter after the prologue is, like I said, 2 days before, when she's starting this ballroom thing. And then it keeps going back to 21 years before, back when Dion he was originally an executioner for the Fae King, Oleander. And Oleander is one of these guys that you just want to reach through the book and just throat punch, because he's just an absolute idiot. He's doesn't care about his kingdom at all. If you're wealthy and prosperous and you have a problem, he will help you out. If you are middle class or lower class, I can't be bothered with that, sorry. And eventually Dion goes from being his executioner, because originally he was king sent him and his identical twin brother Allen out as executioners, and their job was basically to kill anyone the king told them to, mostly for high treason. And Dion is very loyal to his king and country. And so he is like, if you're talking bad about my king, you're talking bad about my country, and I can't have that. And so he would start killing these people, but then he'd find out that they're not as treasonous as what he was originally told. And so he starts doubting everything and questioning everything he's doing. But eventually, it gets around that you can't badmouth the king, because if you're even in the pub talking crap about the king, you'll be killed. And so the gossip stops. And so then the king's like, okay, well, I don't need 2 executioners, so Layne, you are going to stay on as an executioner. Dion, I'm going to have you just, anybody has a problem, they can come to you, and you just tell them the king will deal with it. And so people come to him, and at first Dion's like, okay, yes, let's solve the problems, you know, but then he realizes none of the problems are actually getting solved. Nobody's going to do anything about it unless they're prosperous, high-ranking people. And so Dion is starting to get very disenchanted about his king, and he's starting to feel like, you know what, this king is a knob. Just, we'd be better off without him, but I have my loyalties. And eventually there arises a high lord, Amadeo, and he is very prosperous, he is very wealthy, he is very generous, and people love him. And it's clear that he is going to be a threat to the king, to the point where people might end up absolutely mutinying, doing a whole uprising to dethrone the king and put Amadeo and his high lady on the throne as king and queen. So the king sends Dion to Amadeo and says, I want you to go find him. You're going to go as an emissary, and you're supposed to be there to just foster, officially you are there to foster good relationships between the king and the High Lord. What you're really doing there is you are going to try and find any information you can so that I can use that information to destroy him. And naturally Dion is met with skepticism and suspicion at the high courts of the High Lord Amadeo. And Amadeo is willing, he sees past what Dion is to what Dion could be. And then the question just becomes, does Dion become what Amadeo sees he can be, or does he choose to stay loyal to the king and be this tool? Because that's basically what he is. He is an absolute tool. To the point where, realizing that nobody's going to get help, he starts just drinking himself into oblivion every time that people start coming, and then he starts drinking wine. By the time that he's done, he is completely wasted, and by the end of the day, and it's surprising he doesn't have a hangover. And I'm just like, Dion, I understand that you feel helpless, but it doesn't seem likely that you would give up that easily. Like, you feel that about Dion, that he's given up too easily. And so I just really disliked Dion so much at first, because it's like, again, I wanted to the mom in me wanted to go and say, young man, what are you doing? And he was like, well, the only reason I'm staying loyal to the king is because it's a little bit of it's the only little bit of honor that I have left. And it's like, what honor is there in serving a tyrannical king? You know? But like, for him, the logic is there of, I don't have much honor left. All I have is my loyalty to my king. And it's like, is that honor, or is that just you taking the coward's way out because you don't want to try and inflict change? And I can't really say a whole lot more about this without giving things away. But Dion does end up, it's a 3 point of view story. Thea's point of view, Dion's point of view, and then Dion, when he's with the court of Amadea, he is, his personal guard is Ciaragen, but everybody just calls, she later becomes known as just Ari, and, but she has a beef with Dion, and it's one that they are eventually able to kind of get over, as Dion starts to come into himself and realize what he is capable of being, and he's starting to make that decision of, do I stay loyal to the king, or is it time to hope for a better future of this kingdom? And how their story 21 years ago, back when Thea was being born, ties into Thea's current life and everything that's going on, and including the kidnapping, how that all plays in with each other is very interesting. And this has a really cool twist at the ending that it's like you don't see it coming, but that's okay, because it's not so much that they didn't give you the information it's not so much that they don't give you the information. They give you enough. The writer, Jess, does give you enough information about everything that's going on that when the twist comes, no, you're not expecting it, but it absolutely makes sense. And this is actually a trilogy. This is the first book. The second book is out. The third book is not yet out. But I will, of course, link in the description box below the link to this book and the link to the second book. But it's like I said, there's so much more I could say about this. You know what? Go on Goodreads and read the reviews there, because I wanted to put a review on Goodreads, but it's like, what can I say that nobody else has already said? And that's kind of where I left it. I did eventually put a review down, but when I went to do my review, I saw that it had so many reviews, and as I'm reading through the reviews, I was like, yes, 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 you guys are saying everything I was gonna say, you know. So yeah, read the reviews. It is a really good book. I liked. I was actually surprised that this was a debut novel for Jess Layne, because it's so well written that you would swear that she's been doing this for years, you know. So like I cannot say enough about this book, obviously, because my timer says that I've been ranting for about 28 minutes now. So I'm gonna stop ranting about this book. Go read it for yourself. Get your own copy. Link in the description below. I will see you guys next time. I'm gonna go order this second book. I will see you next time. Bye.